Today, we're dissecting the Taken enemy race in Destiny 2. When you're just starting out, learning all the mechanics can take a while, so in this video, we're breaking down all the Taken, what they do, and where to shoot them for critical damage. This is the Taken version of the Hive Thrall, and these little gremlins always show up in a pack. Their claws deal solar damage, and the only real strategy they've got is to run you down and rip you to shreds with them. To counter that, back up to create space, then shoot them in the glowing eyeball to land that critical hit. If you wind up getting surrounded, just jump into the air and reposition. The Thrall special ability is a close range shift that rapidly moves them from one place to another. That can make it hard to land the crit, but these things don't have a lot of health, so whether you hit them in the body or the head, you'll probably get the kill regardless. This is the Taken version of the Hive Acolyte, which are basically the low-level henchmen. In addition to having something clearly wrong with their spine, the weapon they carry can show up as an arc pistol or a void blaster that fires bolts of concussive damage. Every now and then you'll find them with void shields, so use a void weapon and you'll break it no problem. If you head into melee range, they're gonna smack you with their strong hand, which is both ineffective and absolutely disgusting. Get that thing away from me. Their special ability summons an Acolyte's eye that functions like a floating turret. Whether you're shooting the Acolyte itself or the eye they create, the glowing white circle is the crit spot, and that's the case for pretty much all the Taken, so fill it with bullets and you'll be all set. This is the Taken version of a Vex Goblin, and this soot-covered machine is somehow one of the most annoying enemies they've got. The void pistol they carry deals a laughable amount of damage, and if you walk into close range, they've got a palm burst melee that tickles a lot more than it hurts. Their special ability is this green-colored beam that makes their allies immune to damage. You want to treat this thing like a bat signal that's screaming, "Please come fucking murder me." When you see it, trace the beam back to the goblin that's channeling it and shoot him right in the face so you can deal with their buddies in peace. By the way, boys, if you're getting value out of this, press the like button to help the video take off. Every little bit of engagement helps. These are the Psions, and these miniature humanoids applied to be a Taken after losing their job at the Lollipop Guild. These things always show up in numbers, and the arc pistol they carry gets a lot more dangerous the more of them there are around. Just like the Goblin, the Psions have a close-range palm burst melee, but this one deals arc damage instead of void. Their go-to ability is a move I call the Piccolo, and when they use it, they'll split their body in half and make a copy of themselves at full health. That means you need to kill these things fast, because if you don't, no matter how much resilience you've got, you're gonna lose to their sheer numbers. Put a bullet in their heads as fast as you can, and make sure to leave none standing, or else you're gonna have to wipe out that group all over again. This floating space testicle is a Taken Blight, and when you see these, typically the objective is to kill him. Sometimes you'll see him as a dome shield on the ground, which makes the Taken inside immune to damage, and when you walk in, you'll start losing health over time. You want to shoot the darkness pillar in the center to clear out the Blight, but make sure you don't use an explosive weapon, or you'll probably blow yourself up. If the Blight you need to kill is in the sky, you're gonna notice it's immune to bullets. When that happens, you need to strafe in and out of the Blight on the ground to be able to damage it. The buff from that only lasts a few seconds, so make sure you're using a heavy weapon to put in as much work as you can. This is the darkness version of the Vex Hobgoblin, and it's one of two sniper-style enemies you'll find in the Taken ranks. If you wind up in melee with them, they'll hit you with a standard void palm burst, but most of the time, you'll see these things on ledges somewhere far away. The void rifle they carry charges up and then fires, and the range it has is basically infinite. In addition to that, when you damage them, and every time they die, the Hobgoblin uses a move called Retaliation Swarm that launches 3 void bolts at you at high speeds. The tracking on those is pretty insane. Unless you're right next to a piece of cover, they're probably gonna hit you for some kind of damage, and that can get deadly quick, so shoot them in the face with the longest range gun you got. This is the Vandal, which is the other sniper enemy you'll find with the Taken, and these former Fallen carry solar wire rifles that charge up and hit you from a mile away. In pretty much any level of content, a few shots from this is deadly, so as soon as you get hit, find yourself a piece of cover and figure out where they are. Most of the time, this is not the enemy you want to ignore. When you shoot them, they'll deploy a darkness dome that looks like the Blight from earlier. Just like before, this thing's immune to damage, and the Taken inside it are gonna heal a little bit over time. If you're close enough, you can walk right into the dome like you own the place and open fire. But be careful, the Vandals are southpaws, and they've got no qualms about smacking you with their weird ribcage arms. The Minotaur is the John Cena of the Taken race, cause you can't see this thing worth a damn. The void cannons they carry deal concussive damage, and occasionally, they'll show up with solar guns that shoot blasts of fire. No matter what weapon they're using, most of the time, they won't pull the trigger till after they've smacked you in the face with it. These are stealth fighters that use their invisibility to sneak attack, then blast you into the dirt. To kill them, shoot them in the body to disable their camo, then show their glowing circle face who's boss. The Phalanx is a darkness space rhino, and it's one of the deadliest Taken you'll find in the wild. The arc rifle they carry packs a decent punch, and the shield they're holding is immune to damage and can take your life in the blink of an eye. In addition to a standard melee that for some reason could straight up one-hit you, the glowing hole in the center can fire off darkness turds that send you flying backwards. If you're anywhere close to a ledge, you'd better have your affairs in order, cause there's a good chance you're about to eat shit. Be prepared to compensate for the knockback. You want to shoot them in their toes to expose the face, and fill their mouth full of bullets to put them in the grave. This is the Taken version of the Fallen Captain, and these guys are definitely in the running for most obnoxious ability in the game. Every few seconds, they'll lean back and chuck a darkness bubble in your direction. If you get hit, your whole screen goes black, your hearing goes out, your bank account gets overdrawn, and someone eats your lunch out of the work fridge. I know it was you, Chuck. Alright? I can smell the tuna from over here. But seriously, this can wind up wrecking your day if you're not paying attention. Do your best to get hit by it as little as possible. The arc rifles they carry are dangerous enough to kill you, so be aware of that. And the Taken captains always have a solar shield. You know what to do when you see it. Every now and then you'll see these dudes with a pair of swords instead of a gun. Stay out of melee range with them, but otherwise the fight remains the same. Bust their solar shield and shoot them in the eyeball, and it'll be them seeing darkness instead. The Taken Centurion is a bigger, beefier version of the Phalanx, and no matter where you see them, they'll have an arc shield, so bring an arc weapon to break it. The rifle they carry fires void blasts that destroy you if you're not careful, so play close to cover and get ready to break line of sight if you get low on health. Centurions fire Axion bolts that seek you out and blow up for a bit of void damage when they find you. These things can move over pieces of cover and travel pretty far, and to avoid getting hit, just shoot them once or twice. To kill the big guy, break their elemental shield and hit him in the face with something powerful like a special or heavy weapon. This is the Taken version of a hive ogre, and in addition to being giant and hideous, the top half vaguely resembles a nutsack after a pen explodes in your pocket. The I-beam they fire deals a large amount of concussive damage, and the longer it hits you, the harder it'll push you backwards. That can get real annoying when you're trying to fight someone else, and in situations where you could fall off a platform, it may end up leading to a death. When the ogre gets low health, their frenzy ability activates, and that's indicated by this little Taken stink cloud that shows up around their head. When that happens, they raise their fist and charge into melee range, so be ready to get the hell out of dodge. If they close the gap, they're gonna smash you into the dirt, and as you might imagine, that hurts a lot. To kill this thing, fire into the white spot on its ballsack face with the heaviest weapon you've got. The Wizard is one of the highest ranking Taken enemies, and its suite of abilities is nothing to scoff at. You're gonna see these things with void shields, so to break it, grab a void weapon and empty the clip. Their solar energy blasts hit like a truck and fire in a massive volley. To avoid them, just strafe gently to one side. If they start making contact, you're gonna melt pretty quick, so stay on the move and you'll be fine. The Wizard has a summon ability that creates shadow versions of the Thrall from earlier. These are just like the regular Taken Thrall, they show up in groups and die in only a few hits. To send this thing to the grave, use your void weapon to break the shield and lay into him with some kind of heavy. But be ready to keep firing, cause they love to dodge out of the way and make you waste a bunch of ammo. The Knight has one of the most diverse kits of all the Taken, and for that reason, they're probably the most interesting. Occasionally you'll see them with an arc or solar shield, and their special ability sprays lines of fire across the ground that stick around for a little while after. The weapon they use depends on where you find them. It might be a void cannon that shoots concussive blasts. Those hit pretty hard and can damage you around corners. In other parts of the game you'll see Knights with a stasis gun that lobs ice balls in your general direction. If they land on the ground, they'll leave a lingering cloud of cold as an environmental hazard. Whether you walk through the cloud or get hit directly, this applies the slow debuff, which is annoying as f***, slows your weapon speeds, and makes it so you can't double jump. You want to avoid that, and melee range too, cause their stomp mechanic hits just as hard as the Ogre. If you haven't guessed by now, don't be afraid to let loose with the heavy ammo, and if you want to see the breakdown for the Cabal enemy race, just click the card on the right. If you made it this far, be a dude and press the like button for me. I'm Moonchild, thanks for watching.